seventh Sattva Prakaran and the verse number Mayyananta Mahambodhau Jagadvichi Swabhavataha Udetu va astamayatu Name vriddhir na chakshatihi. Mai in me, Ananta Mahambodhau, in the unlimited ocean. Because the oceans that we have even though these oceans are very oceanic, थोड़ा ठीक है जी, thank you ji. Even though the oceans are unlimited, they are not literally unlimited. We describe them unlimited. The ocean is endless. But it is only a drishtanta. Ocean is an example for the truth. Ocean is not the truth. Ocean is an example for that. The ocean is given as an example for the truth. Ocean is also given as an example for samsara. To swim across the ocean of samsara, you need jnanam. And how is the truth? It's like an ocean. And the waves are like the creation. So the ocean is not literally endless. It's figuratively endless. Awesome. It is awesome. But the truth is peaceful, not awesome. Truth is peaceful. Mayi, Bhagavan says, Ananta Mahambodhau, in this literally unlimited. It is literally unlimited, not as though unlimited. No, it is unlimited. It has no limitation. It's free from all limitations. To be is to be unlimited, please. You can't think of unlimitedness because unlimitedness is not an object of thinking. Unlimitedness is one's being, to be. Isko pakad liya, sab pakad liya. To be is unlimitedness. To think is limitation. I can think the limited. I can think the non-eternal. But I can't think the unlimited. I can be it. I can't think the eternal. I can be it. What one is, he can't think it. What one is, he can't think it. And when he tries to think what he is, he makes a mess of the whole thing. He tries to think what he is, and he goes on thinking, and he goes on imagining it. You can think about an object as it is, but you can't think of your being as it is. To be. Discerning between thinking and being is the way to know the being. Thinking. You can't think, you can think an object You can rightly think of an object, you can wrongly think of an object. But about the truth, you can't rightly think or wrongly think. It is not an object of thinking. Then what is it? Discerning between thinking and being is what is understanding the being. It is more a correcting an error about the truth. You don't think about yourself, the truth. You can't think of the truth. You can only discern between your being and the thinking. Mayi ananta mahombodhav jagad vichihi, the waves of the universe, swabhavataha, in ignorance. Without my effort, I find myself with, that is called swabhava. It's very difficult to explain. Swarupa is different from swabhava. Sometimes the word swabhava is used in the sense of swarupa. But the swarupa is not used in the sense of swabhava. Swabhava is what I find myself with, is called swabhava in avidya. What I find myself with. I find myself with embodiment, that is swabhava. I find myself struggling, that is swabhava. What I create is my creation. But I find myself as a karta. Kartritvam is swabhava. I find myself a villa, it is swabhava. I find myself a perceiver, swabhava. I find myself facing a universe, that is swabhava. Finding myself with is called swabhava. If you use your will and create, that is not swabhava, that is your creation. You find yourself with anger, you don't create it, swabhava. You find yourself greedy, swabhava. Therefore, all impulses are by swabhava, and then you use your will. You find yourself with a will, that is swabhava. But that will with which I find myself, that will I use to restrain the impulses. To restrain the impulses, I use my will. But the impulses are swabhava. Therefore, in me, the endless ocean of awareness, there are waves of the creations which I find myself with. Udetu, let the universe appear. Va, or astamayatu, or let it disappear. Let it become manifest. Let it become unmanifest. Let me find myself with the manifest, or let me find myself with the unmanifest. Name vriddhihi, this universe doesn't add to my existence. Nacha kshatihi, it doesn't subtract, take away anything from my being. Appearance of the universe doesn't add, disappearance of the universe doesn't take away. ऐसा समझना है. The perception of the form doesn't add to my being. Thinking doesn't add to my being. Perceiving something doesn't add to my being. And the suspension of perception doesn't take away anything. There is no minus from the being. There can't be a plus to the being. There can't be a minus from the being. Plus and minus is in samsara, where there is prapti. You can add to the house, you can delete the house, you can minus from the house, you can add to the house. Therefore, understanding the difference between one's perception and one's being, one's thinking and one's being, one's feeling and one's being, one's experiencing something and one's being. Experiencer-experienced relationship doesn't add to the being, doesn't take away from the being. And therefore, aisa samajhna? Samajhna. That's exactly what is called Vedanta. It is not really remaining in a mood of quietude. That is also insecurity. It is like you create a nice nest with a lot of money and then remain in that mood of safety. There is no difference between a mental mood of safety or a homely mood of safety. But then wherever you seek refuge, there is a sense of insecurity, please. Every Sharanam has its sense of insecurity. There is no refuge, because every refuge makes you a refugee. Yes, every refuge makes you a refugee. Even Bhagavan himself makes you a refugee. Your existence is the real, where your existence requires no refuge. Your existence is free. It doesn't need any refuge, nor is it a refuge for anybody. It is a truth. Because unless there is something else other than the self, if there is something other than the self, then that other can come and take refuge in the self. Similarly, if there is something higher than the self can go and take refuge in it. If there is something less than the self, less means other than the self, it can come and take refuge in the self. But really, if it is non-dual, it is neither it is a refuge for somebody, nor does it require any refuge. Na sharan lene wala hai truth, na sharan dene wala hai. Lekin Swamiji, it is said, truth gives you sharanam. No. Even though we say that to begin with, but the tatparyam is, it alone is. In the realm of avidya, we say, when a student is new, he is very fresh for Vedanta, at that time you say, your refuge is yourself. But in time we understand what it means. To be non-dual alone is the truth. You don't give refuge to anybody, you don't take any refuge in anything. Name vriddhir nacha kshati mayyanantamahom bodhau vishwam nama vikalpana atishanto nirakaraham etadevahamastitaham. Mayi, in me, ananta mahambodhau, in this unlimited, literally unlimited ocean of the self, in this full self. You know why the ocean is given as an example, please? The ocean is comprehensive of the water. The oceanic water is comprehensive of all the waves as itself. Similarly, the self is comprehensive of the entire creation, the entire realm of thinking, The being is comprehensive of the entire thinking as itself. As itself. Like water includes all the waves as itself. Not in itself, but as itself. Similarly, consciousness is comprehensive of all the forms as itself, because they are all made of it. They are made of it. Like the wood is inclusive of the table as itself. As itself. Not in itself, as itself. It is equation. The table is wood, not the table is in wood. Even when we say the table is in wood, that is prakriya, the tatparyam is the table is wood. The table is born of wood, sustained by wood, it will go back unto wood. But the tatparyam is the table is wood. Therefore, Mayi Ananta Mahambhodau Vishwam Nama, a thing called the Prapancha, the universe. Universe has no size, please. Creation is a relationship, not a size. Very difficult to understand this point. Subject, object, relations, called Dvaitam. Creation is not a dimension. It's a Bhranti. Like a dream has no size. It is a dreamer, a dreamt relation. The form has a size, but the seer and the seen relationship has no size. It is a Dvaitam. And with reference, the entire form is seen, and I am the seer. It is only seer-seen relationship. That seer-seen relationship is called creation. The oneness is the reality. Whereas the seer, that relationship, seer-seen relationship, is called the creation. I find myself as a form and related to a form. I stand the seer of the form, hearer of the sound. This is called relationship, Dvaitam. This seer-seen relation, perceiver-perceived relationship, thinker-thought-of relationship, imaginer-imagined relationship, actor-acted-on relationship, enjoyer-enjoyed relationship. This Dvaitam presupposes avidya. Dehoham is the avidya. It is a confusion. Relationship presupposes a equation, and the equation is avidya. Either we say the relationship presupposes avidya. It is difficult to understand relationship as avidya. But it becomes easier to understand how relationship presupposes the equation. Dehoham. This is a confusion. The seer is different from the seen. The dissimilarity is obvious between one's existence and the body. The dissimilarity is very obvious. And that can be appreciated despite the seer being other than the seen, but yet I take myself to be the form. That this embodiment is a confusion can be easily appreciated. At least it is available for appreciating. It may take years and years, but ultimately you can understand. That is, The one who is aware cannot be a lump of matter which cannot be aware. And nor consciousness is a product of matter. It is not a product of any process. All these things can be understood. I am not the Deha. Deha cannot know, and I cannot be known and objectified. The body is objectified, it cannot objectify, and the conscious being cannot be objectified. Thus, there is a total dissimilarity between the Atma and the Deha. And yet if I say I am Deha, it is a Adhyasa. Therefore, that the problem is Adhyasa can be understood. That is why Bhashyakara says Sarvaloka Prasiddha. Confusion is all too obvious universally. Confusion is that human life presupposes confusion is obvious. Human life, human fears, human desire, human struggle, human identity presupposes human individuality, life and death presuppose Dehoham, which is a confusion. And that it is a confusion is that the Vyavahara presupposes Dehoham is all too obvious. But Dehoham may not be confusion. Dehoham is there. Yes, the Sansara presupposes Dehoham. The Purvapakshi may say, life presupposes Dehoham, but Dehoham itself may not be avidya. No, that it is avidya can be appreciated. Why? Because the one who is aware is like the light, and the body that cannot be aware is like darkness. And the light equates itself with darkness. I am the body is a confusion, a discernible equation, an appreciable, understandable confusion it is. Supposing it is a confusion that cannot be understood as a confusion, then how can you say it is a confusion? On what basis? That it is a confusion, the Shastra says, because it is obvious that it is a confusion. It is obvious that if a person thinks that I am in the mirror, I am there, it is a confusion, obviously. If I take a lamppost for man, it's a confusion. There at least, there is no discerning. I have to throw light on it, and then only when I come to know that it is a lamppost, then I know that it is not a man. But Yahapa, it's not like that. Here it is. That one is conscious is already evident. That one is conscious is already evident. This form is inert, that it is evident. The form doesn't know. Anything that is objectifiable cannot objectify, is the Siddhantam. The table can be objectified, but it cannot be, it's not aware of its own existence. It cannot be aware of others' existence. This you capture it. An object is not aware of its existence. Even the body is not aware of its existence. Thoughts are not aware of their existence. The one who is aware of everything alone is the conscious being. The subject is aware of the body, the subject is aware of the thoughts. Therefore, the one who is aware of the body, the one who is aware of the thoughts, is different from the body and the thoughts, and therefore this equation that I am the body is a confusion. Therefore, Dvaitam presupposes the confusion. If Dvaitam presupposes confusion, then it is a part of confusion. But sometimes, instead of saying it is a part of the confusion, it presupposes the confusion. Then in Srishti Prakriya we say the Dvaitam is created. Dvaitam is names and forms. As names and forms, they are Maya. And Maya has two sides, manifest and unmanifest. The manifest names and forms are the manifest Maya, and the unmanifest names and forms are also Maya. As manifest it is Maya, as unmanifest also it is Maya. Maya doesn't become unmanifest, names and forms become unmanifest. The names and forms as unmanifest, they are called Maya. Names and forms manifest are called Maya Srishti. So either you say Dvaitam presupposes avidya, or the names and forms which are manifest and unmanifest are avidya kalpitam. क्या फर्क पड़ता है जी? The names and forms presuppose avidya, or they are avidya kalpitam, means the same thing. Therefore, Dvaitam is not a size. Dvaitam is a relationship. And what intimidates you is the size. What has Laya is only a relationship, Ji. The mountain is big. Every grain of the mountain is related to him as the seer and seen. The seen has no size. Every size is seen. Think like that. The size is seen. That means all that is there is only seen, perceived. Seer-seen relation. Therefore, this Dvaitam, Vishwam Nama Vikalpana, it is a perception, erroneous perception. Fundamentally, being is the truth, perception. Perception by the word perception is an error. You know, there is one Upanishad called Mandukya. In that Mandukya Karika is there. In Vaitatya Prakaranam, Vaitatya means Vitatha, falsity. In Vaitatya Prakaranam, Karikakara says, the dream is false. Why? Drishyamanatvat. Because it is seen. Seen by nature fundamentally is false. Because the truth has to be not seen. The truth being a non-dual, it has to be. If it is seen, it is false. Fundamentally, the fundamental definition of falsity is anything that is seen is false. By drishyamanatvat. Similarly, Jagrat also is false because it is seen. That means perception, per se, perception, any objectification is mithya. Any objectification is mithya. Therefore, Vishwam is in the form of objectification and it is Vikalpana. Vikalpana means it is a distorted perception. It is adhyasa. What about the truth? Ati Shantaha, very peaceful. Ati Shantaha means absolutely peaceful. Nirakaraha, it is not an object of perception. Anything that is thought of is sakara. So even if you don't think of God in a given form, you think of Him, that makes Him, that is a form. It's not the form. Even if you say Bhagavan is formless, that even that thinking is form. To be an object of thought makes him sakara. It is not even the sakara, it is a confusion. It is a distortion. Therefore, these stands that the religions take, we worship by using the form and we worship God as formless, it is all meaningless. It has no meaning at all. Because God as a thought of becomes, even if you think of Him as ethereal, formless, you are thinking. As a thought, it is a form. As a thought of, it is a form. And if it has to be, if you have to think, you better think it in its fullness. That is, use a form and enjoy the worship. Therefore, what the sages did was the right thing. If you have to think of God, think of Him through a form. If you have to understand, then understand Him to be yourself. Either you are the truth, the nature of the truth is you can be the truth, or you think of the truth. Vedanta is also, it is not thinking about the truth, it is discerning between the being and thinking. Therefore, when Mahavakya says, thou art truth, it is referring to the being. It is not referring to thou, stops only with the being. The word thou travels and travels and travels until it hits the being of the student. Thou doesn't stop with the body. Thou doesn't stop with the perceiver. Thou doesn't stop with the knowerness. The thou doesn't stop with any actorness. The thou doesn't stop with even the experiencerness. Because whenever you are ER, that's not being, that is a relationship. ER is a relative term, please. It is a term that conveys a relationship, like father, mother, creator, illumina, thinker, seer, hearer. In all these words, rather, in all the relationships are conveyed by a term with ER. In English it is ER. And in Sanskrit it is trich, tri. Kartru, bhoktru. You understand? Atru, shrotru, drashtru. This is called trich pratyaya. Trich pratyaya means a pratyaya that conveys a relationship. A pratyaya that conveys a relationship. The word thou doesn't stop with the trich pratyaya. It hits the being. Thou art Brahma. Tat tvam asi. How do you interpret that asi? Asi means thou art that. Thou art that. That iya, thinkerness, is not what one is. Thinker is not what one is. Knower of is not what one is. Witness of is not what one is. Perceiver is not what one is. Thinker is not what one is. Then what is one? He is free from all these. The one is free from being free from thinkerness, free from seerness, free from all years, is what you are. Transcending all the relationships is what one is. Free from all the relationships is what one is. Therefore, what one is also cannot be conveyed through a positive term. It's a problem. Fortunately, we have the word thou art, A-R-E. Thou art Brahman, theek hai. But what is that thou art? The one, thou that is that which is free from all relationships. Therefore, the nature can be conveyed as free from relationship. The absolute, even though it is a positive term, when it comes to be understood, how do you understand the word absolute? As free from relationship. How does one understand the word unlimited, ji? It's like, you see, this is a horse and this is a cow. But what is unlimited? It is free from the limitation. Free from being limited. Free from being limited. Free from being limited. And therefore, that thou doesn't stop with any relationship. It cuts across all the relationships and touches you, the being. And what is that being? I have to define the being that is free from all relationships. Thou doesn't stop with with any relationship. Thou doesn't stop with any relationship, but it cuts across all the relationships and conveys the is, the one who is free from all relationships. Nirakara. And therefore, worshipping God in the formless, it is a dhongaji. Let me tell you, I am not a great missionary with a lot of institutions to save from others. But let me tell you, as a Swami, worshipping God as formless is a dhong. Because when you worship God, worshipping God is always to think of God means form. Either you think of the truth or you are the truth. And you recognize it. The truth is what one is. When one doesn't recognize it, one thinks of the truth, worships the truth, recites about the truth. What is there? Etadeva aham asthitaha. This alone I resort to. Etadeva, this self I resort to. Means this self I understand to be myself. The resort and the one who takes resort to it are not two things. Sleep and the one who sleeps are not two things. The peace and the one who becomes peaceful are not two things. Natma bhaveshu navu, natma bhaveshu no bhavaham, tatra nante niranjane, ityasakto sprihah shantah, etadevahamasthitah. Na atma bhaveshu. The self is not confined to the objects. Not. Atma, the self. Bhaveshu, in the objects. The truth is there as the truth of the objects, not confined to the objects. It is not located in the objects, it is not hidden in the objects. To think correctly is very important. One's existence is not, even though every object is in touch with you, it doesn't mean you are there in the object as confined to the object. As like the water is there in the wave, but as the substance of it, not as confined to it. The substance is never confined to a form. And the substance is not confined to a form. One sentence says the substance is not in the form, means is not confined to the form. When we say the self is, the substance is in the form, means it is there as the substance, not as confined. Natma bhaveshu, it's not confined to the objects. Navu bhavaha tatra anante niranjane, nor the objects stick to the truth. Navu, nor bhavaha, the object, tatra, there, anante, in the unlimited, niranjane, in the taintless truth. The objects taint, the objects don't taint the taintless truth. Thoughts don't taint the thinker. Thoughts are entertained in consciousness. Thoughts are entertained in one's conscious identity, but they don't leave behind any taint. The snake doesn't taint the rope. The form doesn't taint the formless. The adhyastha does not taint the adhishthanam. Iti, and therefore in this manner, asaktaha, I am untainted. Even if you cry, I tell this every day, your crying doesn't taint your being. I mean, that is what is oneself really. I may be affected mentally. Getting mentally affected doesn't affect the being. Getting physically affected doesn't affect the being. Nowhere it is said somebody gives you, somebody hurts you, that you are not affected physically. If somebody cuts the hand, the body is affected. Mentally also I am affected. I may even cry. I don't really I don't deny that when a hand is cut, one is not affected. But getting affected mentally doesn't affect the being. A jnani understands physically getting affected doesn't affect the being. Mentally getting affected doesn't affect the being. Aisa samajna makes him not affected mentally also. But the understanding should be like that. What affects the body doesn't affect the being. If a person is physically affected, the physical hunger doesn't affect the being. The mental desire, thirst doesn't affect the being. Aisa samajne se, mentally you are not affected. But the effort is not to be mentally affected. The effort should be to understand that even if a person is mentally affected, it doesn't affect the being. Thus you are discerning between the mind and the being. When you discern between you and a thought in you or about you, then even if you are affected mentally, you are not affected as the being. If that is understood, that itself can bail you out of mentally getting affected also. Discerning between the mind and the being liberates you from even mentally getting affected. Discerning. Without a discerning between the mind and the self, without discerning between the mind and the self, if I only make an effort not to be mentally affected, then it becomes an effort. Then you are struggling in order not to be affected. You are crying and you are trying to pull back your tears. वो नहीं होगा. However much you may use your will not to cry, ultimately you will cry. When somebody comes, you don't cry. But when he goes away, then you cry. It is just not possible not to be affected mentally as long as one doesn't see this fact that even when I am mentally affected, the being is not affected. That is what is called iti asaktaha, asprihaha. The truth is free from desire. The full, it is not possible for the being to entertain the desire, please. Desire comes from non-understanding of the being. The desire cannot stem from the being. Desire doesn't stem from the being. Desire stems from a situation of non-understanding of the being. When I close my eyes in the light, I stand in the sunlight and I close my eyes and I stumble. Therefore, why do I stumble? Not because the light is not adequate, not because the light is not there, but because I close my eyes to the light. Similarly, the full cannot desire. It's not possible for the full to entertain a desire. The being cannot entertain a desire. Desire is not only, just as in ignorance it's not possible to stop it. And similarly, the being ununderstood cannot stop the desire. Similarly, the being as the being cannot entertain a desire. Being in actuality cannot entertain a desire. Therefore, iti asaktaha asprihaha, shantaha, and that makes the being peaceful. Etadeva aham asthitaha, this alone is my resort. This me alone is my resort, without a sense of division. I am my resort, I am my refuge, I am my Sharanam. My Sharanam is myself. Which me is my Sharanam? Asaktaha me, asprihaha me, shantaha me, alone is my Sharanam. And which me? The me that's not confined to any form. The me which is not tainted by any form. That me which is asaktaha, which has no relationship with anything. The me, the unrelated me, the peaceful me, the desire-free me, is my resort, is my refuge. In this, there is no exploitation. If you take refuge in somebody, exploitation. If you take refuge in wealth, there is exploitation. Meaning, it doesn't work. Taking refuge in anything doesn't work in life. But taking refuge in yourself. That's why when you want to have real rest, you go back to yourself. When do you go back to yourself? When you are tired of the creation. When you are tired of the creation, you go back to yourself. I am telling you. This is something. I have all pleasures. I have all entertainments. I have all great perceptions. I have all great enjoyments. But ultimately, what is the final result? I get tired. When I am tired, the creation has no answer to me. When I am physically tired, mentally tired, the universe has no answer. I can't run here and there. That only makes me more tired. Ultimately, I have to go back to myself. I have to close my eyes and go back to myself. This is so obvious, but yet it doesn't hit a man. Why? That's Maya. Why it doesn't touch his thinking? It doesn't touch his thinking. He says, that is all right, we go to ourselves, we go to sleep. He doesn't understand that he goes to himself. He only says, no, I only go to sleep, ji. As though it is something other than himself. Going to sleep is nothing but going back to oneself. Therefore, when you are tired, the creation has no answer. Your entire empire has no answer. The best food is not the answer. The best pleasures are not the answer. Even Rambha, Urvashi, etc. come to you to press your feet is not the answer. He will say, Kal subere dekenge abhi jaake so jao. I am telling you, when man is, because what can tire man is not merely pleasure, activity. Even pleasure tires you. Even if you don't have any pleasures, mere perception, wakefulness, meaning to be awake is a perception. To be entertaining a thought. Entertaining a thought also can tire me. Even keeping with the thought that I am the body. A man doesn't do anything, he is sitting in the chair. But then he is entertaining, he is with the thought. He is with the thought that I am the body. Can tire him. Because what doesn't tire man is to be, but to think tires. To think tires. And when you are tired, even with a simple thought, I am the Deha, then the answer is only the resolution of that thought. When the thought has laya, I am peaceful. And the scientists may give so many answers, ji, the brain rests and all. What is rest? Rest is a word. But we have to define it properly. What is rest? What is fatigue? What is rest? Fundamentally. Don't take it for granted that you know what is fatigue. Don't take it for granted that you know rest. How do you define rest? Is it suspension of activity? Is it change of activity? Is it suspension of thought? Is it change of thought? Is it suspension of a given thought? In fact, If that is true, then why do you have to go to sleep for rest? In sleep you are not really changing the activity. You are not really suspending a given thought. You are suspending all thoughts. That means freedom from thought is rest. Freedom from thought means it's not just absence of thought. It is to be. To be. To be is peace. To be is peace. And finding myself with the thought, anadi thought, to find myself with the thought, that is tiring. And therefore, my refuge is myself. And in fact, every living being's refuge is himself. The last verse of the 7th Prakaranaji. Aho chinmatramevaham indrajalopamam jagat ato mama katham kutram heyopadeya kalpanam. Aho, what a wonder! Chinmatrameva aham, I am purely, solely consciousness. I am not both conscious and the form. If the fire thinks I am both hot and cold, that is adhyasa. If man thinks, yes, I am conscious, but I am also a form, that is adhyasa. Say, if you are conscious, you can't be the form. If you are a form, then you cannot be conscious. You cannot be both. Therefore, I am conscious, I am also form is a confusion between conscious identity and a form. And the correction is, aho, indeed. Chinmatrameva aham. The aham is own solely consciousness. Indrajalopamam jagat. And the embodiment is an era, presupposing this jagat, is this avidya, is the jagat, which is like what? Indrajala. Indrajala means, understand, don't translate as a jadoo. Indrajala means an illusory perception. Is the universe, Swamiji, really an illusion? Yes, it can't be less than that. Is dream really dream? Then what else is it? Dream is dreamt. And there is no difference between a dreamt drishyam. Drishyam means dreamt in the truth. Because the truth is not drishyam. And the drishyam is dreamt in the drashta. I see, drashta sees the drishyam. And drashta is unlimited. So he can only see the drishyam within himself. Drashta doesn't see the drishyam in the framework of time and space. He sees the time in himself, space in himself, drishyam in himself. And therefore an illusory perception is called Indrajalam. It's just a word, Indrajalam. Somebody creates confusion in you. You get confused. Indrajala, some people, magicians, do something. Their hand is faster than your eyes. So they have some trick. But anyway, whatever be the reason, but I get confused. That confusion is, that illusion is what is called Indrajalam. Whether that Indrajalam is handiwork or whatever it is, for me it is a confusion. For me it is an illusion. This Jagat is, relationship is Indrajalam. Look at the universe as I would like to repeat it. Look at life as a relationship, please. A relationship. Anadi Dvaitam. See, the social relationships are sadi. They begin in time, end in time. But the seer seen relationship doesn't begin in time and end in time. This is something anadi. Subject-object relationship has no dimension, has no size. Because I have relationship with every size. Therefore, don't say relationships have a size, say every size ends up in a relationship. Indrajalo upamam, it is like Indrajala, Jagat. Ataha, therefore, mama to me, katham how, kutra where, heya upadeya kalpana, how can I have do's and don'ts? Truth doesn't have do's and don'ts. Jiva alone is given do's and don'ts. Jiva is told, sir, do this, don't do this. An individual needs to be disciplined. Truth doesn't require any discipline. Truth doesn't require to be disciplined. Truth has no do's and don'ts. Truth is meant to be understood. As a man of ignorance, as an individual in ignorance, I have a lot of do's to follow, I have a lot of don'ts to avoid, I have a lot of good to do, a lot of bad to avoid, a lot to know, etc. Discipline is essential for an individual, jiva. But the being of every individual is not the topic of do's and don'ts. You don't have to achieve it, you can't avoid it. Baba, it's very great, Ji. You can't avoid yourself, you don't have to reach yourself. Your being is, actually when I say me, it is a reference to the being, not to the body, not to the thoughts, not to the social identity. The me is a reference to the eternal being. When we refer to the way we actually mean referring to the water. Thou refers to the eternal being. Therefore, do's and don'ts are okay, but do's and don'ts are not a part of Vedanta. They are a part of survival. They are related to relative peace. They are related to health. They are related to mental health and physical health. I don't mind saying that. All disciplines, all values, all do's and don'ts are directly related to physical health and mental health. But physical health and mental health are necessary for knowing the truth. But the direct means to understanding the truth is Shravanam. Studying Vedanta in order to study one's existence. Studying one's existence. And that way you can connect all the disciplines to self-study. That is different. But it's not directly related to understanding the truth. It is indirectly connected. Directly connected to what? Physical health and mental health. Therefore, the do's and don'ts are not a part of Vedanta, please. All disciplines are also not a part of Vedanta. Vedanta is only one statement. All that you want to be, that you already are. You want to be happy, that you already are. You want to be, that you already are. You want to be peaceful, that you already are. You want to be full, that you already are. You want to be unlimited, that you already are. If you want to be eternal, that you already are. That's all the Vedanta. That thou art. That is Vedanta. What you are seeking, that thou art. And figuring out this statement is called the whole Vedanta. Okay, ji. Om Purnamadaha Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vasishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti.